This may look like the US Army is on the streets, but in fact these are militiamen with their own alarming agenda. We were witnesses to this extraordinary development, a major US city in the hands of self-confident and heavily armed militias, with police and civic leaders nowhere to be seen. It was a brazen show of strength with an unmistakable message that there are new sheriffs in town.
Rioting and burning and looting is not going to answer that question.
Angry Viking is a militia commander who told me he wants dialogue.
And we're here just to protect the building. That's it. And we're here to do this. Meet and talk.
You was gonna allow it to happen.
But that dialogue quickly descended into furious arguments. Black Lives Matter activists, who have held a vigil here for 100 days, say the militias are a pure provocation.
Tired, exhausted, worn out. What else do you want me to say?
Do you think it'll end up as a fight?
Yes. People are going to die, bro. People are going to die. I don't know who's going to be.
Which militia are you from?
Many of these disparate groups
Which militia are you from?
had no interest in identifying
Excuse me,
themselves.
sir. Which militia are you from?
We are all Americans here. We're all Americans here. We're all here for the same. We're all here actually against you. Is what we're here against.
You're impeding me from moving my group that way right now. Are you not? Yes, you are.
I'm asking you what you're doing here on the streets of this city.
Well, first off, you're not American.
One of the most bizarre features here is this mosaic of different groups. We've got protesters, counter-protesters, we've got militias, we've got other armed groups who refuse to identify themselves. All of it is a recipe for confusion on the streets of Louisville and potentially for chaos.
So today we'll talk about Kshatriya training in Vedic culture. So Vedic system or Vyavastha is that we have Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. So Srila Prabhupada started his movement with Brahminical culture, focused on creating the world-class Brahmanas. And the second generation now, this whole farm-based movement where people are buying farms and moving there. So that is creating the Vaishya culture and the Shudra culture to support the Vaishyas in agriculture and in cow protection. Krishi Goraksha Vanijyam, Vaishya Karma Samajanam. So it means that to the characteristic of Vaishyas is to take care of the cows and do agriculture. So there is a third element, Kshatriya training. So today's topic is on Kshatriya training. So here is some research that various scientists, not scientists, but socialists have done, social scientists have done in various universities. So one is K.S. Singh. He's saying that only 8 communities in India are considered Kshatriyas. So some of them are claiming the status of the Kshatriya Varna, but they are not necessarily truly Kshatriyas. Like Rajus in Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Raghuvamshi Kshatriyas in Karnataka. In Kerala, they are called Kshatriyas without any appendage. Kottayar in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. Dal Kshatriya in Bihar. Aguri in West Bengal. And then just plainly Kshatriya in Orissa and Assam. So these Kshatriyas are Vedic Aryans. So major Kshatriya clans come from Suryavamshi, Somavamshi, Raghuvamshi, like that. Although technically Raghuvamshis are from Somavamshis. Like there are only 2 primary categories, Suryavamshi, Sun Dynasty, and Moon Dynasty, Chandravamshi or Somavamshi. And then there is this more recent phenomena, Agnivamshis. So they are like Rajput lineage, Chauhans, Parmar, Solanki, Parihar, Chandel. So some claim that Rajputs are a mixture of Scythian, Saka and Huna tribes. So they are not necessarily from the Indian background, but from beyond the Sindhu River, from Central Asia Minor, like that. So Kshatriya castes moved to various other occupations, like alongside their regular work as soldiers or policemen. So for example, Agarwals are Kshatriyas who moved into trading. So in India, you will see that they're very efficient traders, these Agarwals. And then similarly, Ksatriya and Aurora, they were also supposedly Kshatriyas at one point who moved to trading. So this gradual degeneration of society happened, where Kshatriyas came down the rank and became Vaishyas, but not really taking care of cows and grain, but just the trading portion. Vaishya is supposed to do three things: trading, taking care of the land, and taking care of the cows. So they gave the difficult stuff of taking care of the land and taking care of the cows to the lower varnas like Shudras, and they took the lucrative trading things because that's where they felt that they could make more money. So again, you have like Rajaputra, Rajanya, and Rajakutumba. These are the titles. Later on, they were simply called Rajputs. But again, some people say Rajputs came from not the Vedic tradition, but outside of the Vedic tradition. So you see the most famous Kshatriya warrior is Arjuna, who under the guidance of Lord Krishna allowed Lord Krishna to give the Bhagavad Gita, which is the most comprehensive text on the planet. You have Bible and Quran, but they only give little bit morality kind of things. They don't go really deeper than that. So here is a Vaishnava dressed Arjuna who is looking at the reflection of the fish in the water, which is also rotating. He is able to pierce the eye of that fish, which is mounted in the ceiling. So and again, same thing when his guru Dronacharya was training him along with the Kauravas, he was able to pierce just the eye of the bird. Like everybody else said, I would see the branches, I see the tree, and Dronacharya said immediately you are disqualified because you are not focused really on the subject target. Whereas Arjuna, when Dronacharya asked Arjuna, what do you see? He said, I just see the eye, that's it. So he passed the test. So when you have a target, you just look at the target. You don't look at anything right and left. And here are some modern warriors. It takes about $1 million per soldier to give all that equipment, communications equipment, grenades, machine guns, surveillance equipment, binoculars, this, that. It's very, very expensive. And you see the soldier on the back is carrying so much load so that he can survive in any terrain. But sometimes they have to leave that.
Just a sec.
Leave the required gear behind so that they can move quicker and faster. And then you have the concept of militias. Militias are there all across the United States. Sometimes they support the government, sometimes they are against the government. Technically, though, they are still subservient to the government. And here is a little training going on to the Indian Army people, how to catch a snake. So this person, Satyavendra Singh, is actually catching a snake and demonstrating on how to catch the snake in the wild. And then various kinds of training that is given for the Kshatriya training. Then in Texas, you have militias that are not really working with the government, right? There are some militias that are working with the government, but some are against the government. And it all came from this whole Texas notion that we want to be independent. Texas and California are two states that still technically reserve the right to get out of America and form their own country. So there is various debate. Can Texas actually secede from the US? California, can it technically secede? Texas is the 13th richest and California is the 6th richest country in the world if they become their own countries. So yeah, they have a lot of clout, political and financial clout. So Muslims attack Hare Krishna temples. This is in 19 December 2011 in Copenhagen, right? So these people came and they threw baseball hats and weapons and rocks and this and that. So temples are also not technically safe. And I was talking to Nityananda Prabhu, who is a temple president in Dallas, he said even the Dallas temple was once upon a time attacked, but luckily they had a person who was trained in firearms and he fired back, and seeing that the militiamen ran away. So we have to be very careful. Even when you're doing devotion, it doesn't mean that you only have Brahminical culture, but not have Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra culture. What happens is people can attack, and good Kshatriya will respond back. They will fight back. They should fight back. Chaturvarnam Maya Shrishtam Guna Karma Vivagasa. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. So these 4 varnas are created by Krishna for proper administration of the world, so that everybody can cooperate with each other and finally attain to liberation. But that doesn't mean that you will sit tight, quiet when somebody is attacking you. That's what happened with India. People were under the garb of Buddhism. You have to be peaceful. So when Muslims were attacking, they did not really put up a stiff fight. And slowly the entire country became first Muslim dominated and next British dominated. So one has to be careful, right? So in America, militias are not illegal. First Amendment protects freedom of association. So individual state militias basically get rolled into the national army. But sometimes they work against the government also. So Texas militia are autonomous. No militia unit commander or any militia do not need a state militia commander or a centralized militia command. So each one of the groups is autonomous. Some states still have naval militia like Alaska, New York, Ohio, South Carolina, Texas, and Virginia. The Second Amendment says that a well-regulated militia is necessary for the security of a free state. That's because previously it was all, United States was like the big time war. Everybody was fighting everybody. So they established militias to protect communities. And the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So with the first, Second Amendment and Second Amendment, everybody is allowed to organize, including spiritual organizations like ISKCON, where we organize to teach people about God and distribute books and all that. Like when some people protested against Hare Krishna's distributing books in the airports. So they put a case in the court, and the Hare Krishnas won the case because of the First Amendment. You have freedom to organize, freedom to distribute literature of your thought process, whatever that might be, good, bad, or ugly. So that's First Amendment. Second Amendment is right to bear arms. So even the devotees can bear arms to protect temples and farm properties and things of that sort. So there are currently 165 armed anti-government militias operating in US. So the attraction is like, hey, we all believe in the same thing. We believe in Christianity. We are doing the right thing, protecting ourselves. These people are working class, not necessarily very poor because you need to buy guns. Some are survivalists. They're trying to survive any kind of outcome like a third world war or this or that, or supremacy, white supremacy, things like that. So since the beginning of America, there have been militias and they'll continue. And unless people organize on the other side of the fence, what if there was a disturbance, right? Then we cannot protect ourselves either. You cannot have the freedom of your religion unless you exercise your Second Amendment and have guns and know how to use them. And of course, there are ultra-conservative forces like neo-Nazis, Ku Klux Klan, and alt-right or patriot militias. They may also go crazy at some point and start attacking. So to live in America means you have to exercise your First Amendment, freedom of speech, and exercise your Second Amendment, which is right to bear arms. So we have to all protect ourselves in any eventuality, which means we should know how to use guns and things like that. So there are active hate groups. Most of them are in the state of Texas. So yeah, what to do? Most of them are in the state of Texas, followed by states like Alabama, Mississippi, some in Oklahoma. So that is our country. And surprisingly, even where Chandar lives, there are militia groups in your state too. The good news is on the western side, where we live, there are very few. There is probably only one group here. California, there are quite a few groups setting the stage for secession if necessary and become a separate country. So they exist. and there is nothing much anybody can do.
The hate groups, one question. I mean, hate groups, is it against a particular
yeah,
race?
they may create hate against, say, Muslims, or they may create hate against satanic groups, and they may create hate against Hare Krishna too, because we are deemed as a satanic group by some Christians because we do deity worship, and according to the Bible, you should not do idol worship. Although these are not the same idols that Moses tried to stop. Right? They had created idols of goats and started worshiping them. These are not idols, these are deities of the Supreme Lord, but they don't understand that. So there was like this steadfast pastor who was, making some statements against LGBTs. And then they were protesting. See, now same-sex marriage is legal. So even if some people try to do good things or speak from the scriptures, there will be people who will be protesting them. So what can we do? So hate groups, they grew till about 2011, and then they fell in 2014, and now they're again growing, right? So when Obama took office, a lot of acceleration took place because they felt that he was too liberal. And now after Trump came, some of them disbanded. So this is how it is. So in 2015 and 2016, the hate groups grew. And they were actually energized by the rise of candidacy of Donald Trump. So when Trump came into power, they were very happy. Yeah, Trump, because now they have some support for more the rightist views. Democrats became more leftist, like more socialism, that kind of stuff. And Republican became more rightist. So the difference between these two groups is growing. So the Ku Klux Klan, which is the oldest American hate group, they are now trying to regain ground. And right now they are somewhere between 5,000, 8,000 Klan members across United States, and especially in Texas, Alabama, those places. So some say that Ku Klux Klan is losing ground, but new supremacistic groups like Aryan Brotherhood, alt-right, those things are gaining ground. So that is it. And therefore, in order to protect your dharma, you may have to also bear arms at some point in your life. Because as Kali Yuga progresses, these differences will keep on growing. In India, with these supremacistic groups, and in America, in white supremacy groups, and in India, you may have like more influence of Christian groups and Muslim groups supported by Gulf money. So world is not safe anywhere, India, America, anywhere, right? So one has to have that Kshatriya wing in the Varnasrama to protect ourselves. Otherwise, somebody may just come and one fine day just wipe everybody out. Right? So the Kshatriya spirit is necessary. Any questions?